It's Cyclone Sunday with Ben Bruns. Breaking everything down from the Channel Seed Studios. This is Iowa Everywhere.
What is up? Cyclone Sunday here from the Channel Seed Studios. I'm Aiden Wyatt, joined by Ben Bruns. Iowa State, it was a doozy on Saturday. 45-19, Arizona State takes the Big 12 title. What are we thinking, Bruns?
Traumatic, right? Traumatic. Everything about it, traumatic. Hey, first of all, hats off to Arizona State, right? They played a great football game. Scattaboo is everything that everybody talks about and more.
Did you see his final stat line?
Yeah.
I mean, I have 18 touches for 208 yards and 3 touchdowns.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And all of that, like, so it was that was pass interference. Like that's 7 points right there. Arizona State was the better team. Arizona State was going to win that game, in my opinion. But I think where Iowa State lost that game was definitely, that play doesn't go your way. That's one thing, right? Like that's not great. Then you miss a field goal. It was with 1:59 to go in the first half. Second down and 8. We're on our own 30 or 27, right? Because we got the kickoff and here we go. We throw an out route to the sideline. And now no time goes off the clock. And you're in 3rd and long. And their defense had figured out Iowa State by this point. You heard Coach talk about it at halftime, right? They came out, they had this great game plan. We had to make some adjustments. So when they checked, we checked. And we've settled in a little bit. He was exactly right. And then we're going to come back out and do something different, and they've got to adjust to it. Their defensive game plan shifted faster than Iowa State's offensive game plan could shift, and then shift back again to do what we're good at, right? And so, number one, I think hats off to their defensive staff, because I think they really controlled Iowa State after the first several drives of the game. But you're also in that moment where, that's the reality of it. That's what's happening on the field. You can't get into a situation where you're down 7 and it should be a tie game, and now you're kicking it back to them because you can't stop them. And we didn't manage that situation like we were concerned for the fact that they would get another possession. We managed that situation like, we just wanted to run our best play in that moment. And, make them take a timeout or something, right? Now all of a sudden you complete this thing along the sideline for 2 yards or something, right? You're 3rd and 6 backed up. You go nowhere on 3rd down. You punt it away. And there's more than enough time. And Arizona State has 2 timeouts to come down and just, shove it down your throat. And you get the ball back. Everybody was talking about the last 3 seconds of the half. I didn't worry about that, right? At that point, I think it's an opportunity missed. But I don't think that was where the game was lost. I think
I agree.
The game was lost at 1:59 in the second quarter. Now, was Arizona State going to beat us because they were the better team over the long haul of the game? Maybe, right? I think it's very likely that that's an outcome. But 3 straight turnovers in the second half, pretty much assure the nail in your coffin, as opposed to being able to stay in that game and play it back and forth. And I thought it should have been a 7-point game at the break. I thought Iowa State's getting the ball back to start the second half. But, Abu is, it's hard to play this game. And everybody who plays it in a way where they prepare the best they can and they work as best they can, and then they have to live with the results of whatever happens. And I just feel so bad for that young man because, Arizona State got after the football, right? That first one that came out was just straight up all that guy's force on the football. And Iowa State had a positive yardage play on that one. The second one that came out, we were getting blown up in the backfield because Arizona State was winning matchups at the point of attack, and they knew where we were going with the football. And so, ball comes out and now he's going to have that on his mind for the rest of his life, and I love the poem, "The Man in the Arena." Have you heard that?
I literally have a sign right here on top of my computer.
Would you read that?
The man in the arena is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. It's Theodore Roosevelt.
The fact that you have that over the top of your broadcast area is just like, that's Iowa State today, right? That's Iowa State today. And I'm not taking anything away from them, right? They went out, and I mean, you see Rocco in the tunnel greeting everybody on the way back off the field, right? There's still work to be done. And it was humiliating. But nothing ventured, nothing gained. And, Iowa State has done us proud this season. And, Matt Campbell's team and his program are in a place that, is rarefied air for us. And they fell short yesterday, that happens, right? Like, I'm certain that they're reflecting on all of those things that went wrong more than we are. And I have trust and faith in the people involved in it to show up in this bowl game and give us everything they got. I don't know if they're good enough to win whatever is coming their way. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, I'm gonna watch, and I'm gonna cheer, and I'm gonna wear my proudly, because there's nothing simple or easy in life, right? It's messy, and if you're gonna get after it, get after it. And I think Iowa State has done everything they can to represent themselves the right way. And I think, there's a lot of people that never competed or that I'm proud of us. Right. And so Arizona State's going to have a great opportunity. I think this conference is a good football conference, and I think there's a lot of parity. But I also think that the Oregon-Penn State game was a lot higher level game than the one that the Cyclones competed in yesterday. So the playoff will show who the best team is over time, right? That's a gauntlet, man. And I think the part that hasn't been talked about enough is the number of games these guys are playing. NFL schedule is brutal, and everybody recognizes that NFL players are going to play with injuries, right? It's just part of it every day. That's why everybody, when they get done with their 12-year career playing the offensive or defensive line, their hands are mangled, their heads are screwed up, and like their backs are shot and their legs are blown and their shoulders are toast. like it just eats you up, right? I mean, McCaffrey, like, holy cow, what's it going to be like to be that dude when he's 50? You know?
Yeah,
Whoa,
poor guy.
Whoa. So, what we're asking of these collegiate players is way more. And look, all the teams that get to the point of making the championship game, most of the guys on the teams are pros, right? Most of them, or at least half of them. That'll be how that works.
They might not be first or second team Big 12, but they might be pros.
God. Yeah, no, let's not go there. Holy cow. Actually, let's go there for a minute. So talk about that. Where's that come from? What do you think?
I mean, there's not 3 receivers in the Big 12 better than Jaden Higgins. Jalen Knoll, I could see. Jaden Higgins, though?
The number of guys from Utah on that first team were like, what? What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sure seemed to me like the Pac-12 voted in a block. And
kind
when
of felt
that
like
happens, right, you get more guys in. So I think that really changes the dynamic in the future for the rest of the Big 12. But it was definitely a disrespect and an unfair disrespect, right?
Yeah.
There's too many great players on this Iowa State football team. We go a whole bunch of different positions. I mean, Jared Hufford not getting honors, blows my mind. But, I was our senior year, 2000, right? We had hardly anybody on the first team. I wasn't a first team by the coaches' selection because the politics of the Big 12 didn't say Iowa State was worth anything. And, we hadn't been successful in the past. And so, I get first team honors by the AP and third team All-American by Football News. And it's like not first team All Big 12 by the coaches. Like,
make it make sense.
So, I mean, Steve Loney comes in and tells me about it. He's like, we had the league's leading rusher. How is it that your name's not on? I'm like, this stuff happens, right? It happens. And, it's unfair to the guys that it happened to, but it also is emblematic of a place and time, right? And, it just helps show you that we're going to just have to keep stamping our brand as opposed to, having our creative content be our brand, right? You got to stamp your brand on the league. And I'm proud of what we did doing that this year. We didn't have that killer instinct that you need to have against Texas Tech. We got beat by a better Kansas team that day than we were, right? And part of it had to do with personnel, but part of it had to do with just how the Jayhawks executed. That one I could live with, right? You got a key guy out and he's hurt and, still fight your way back into it. And, after a mess to begin with. But, man, 1:59 to go in the first half. And that play, if that clock runs at that point in time, like, you still have a chance to get down the field. I think we still had 3 timeouts, right? Time was not going to be the problem.
Yeah.
So it was that we were not stopping them at that point, and letting them have another possession was a really bad situation. And I saw some good tweets from people that I respect, who were questioning formation and attack in the second half, and or as the game went on. And I'm certain that that's all things that we'll look at. But Arizona State had our number in the second half in terms of penetration on the line of scrimmage, and you can't win. You can't win that game having them in your backfield.
Yeah,
that to me is the difference. And Scatterboo just being a dump truck. Like
Right.
he was great. He was great in that game.
It was kind of funny.
Scrambling twice. Oh,
Yeah.
come on.
My mom texted me like, Scatterboo is such a stupid name. And I'm like, said, I hate how much I love this guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
Because I've been on Arizona State since Kenny Dillingham got the job 2 years ago. Because I heard that this young guy worked his way up from high school, working at his dream school, and over the last week, just with all the love he's given Iowa State and Matt Campbell, and learning more about Arizona State's football program as you do in this situation, I think I've really come to admire that program more than I ever have. And honestly, I'll root for him in the college football playoff. Like,
for sure.
I have no hatred towards Arizona State. It's not like losing to an Oklahoma or a Texas where it's, we're small town public school guys. When you lose to a private school in Iowa, I'm not insinuating anything, but it always sucks. It's like, man, they're the ones that you want to beat. But with Texas and Oklahoma, you kind of had that feel of they thought that they were better than you. And when they beat you, you build that hatred for them. I don't think there is that with Arizona State.
Yeah, I agree. I well said, man. Well said. He's and good reverse psychology by him throughout the week too, right? Like the more you make somebody feel good, the harder it is for them to come out and stab you. But I feel like Iowa State could have situationally pulled off a game where they, in the sum total, maybe weren't better, but we let those situations pass us by in the game. And, Arizona State had no quarter, right? They just kept pouring it on whenever the opportunity availed itself. And that's a good football team. So, we'll see where we go next and see what that matchup is. I suspect it may be prime time, but we'll see.
Yeah, as we record this around 9 a.m. on Sunday morning, we have no idea where Iowa State is going for a bowl game. Alamo Bowl certainly in play. Pop-Tart Bowl certainly in play as well. This is Cyclone Sunday from the Channel Seed Studios. Arizona State 45-19 winners over Iowa State. One person I really want to talk about is Rocco Becht. We've talked about it all year long, how this kid is just a freaking warrior.
Yeah.
I mean, he took that shot, was it in the third quarter, early fourth quarter?
Yep.
He had no reason to come back in the game. No reason at all.
That was like highlight reel, of 20 years ago, right? Like that was the definition of targeting. And his head and chest hit down with the defender's entire body weight on him, right? That is not good. Rocco this year has just, he has this life force about him. He has this don't count us out. We're going to, no matter what. And, until we turned it over the third time, I still was like, hey, don't count, like, you never know, right?
And how crazy is that?
This team
how far Iowa State has come.
So, but great season for him. And, his leadership and, he's not a captain on the football team. He is leading from that position, as a genuine person, right? And will he be a captain next year? You bet, right? He's the leader of the football team. We know about Bo. We know about all these other guys. They're all leaders of the football team, right? But that guy is one that I think is a legend in the making. He's already a legend at Iowa State. He is already. So the question will just be, How big does that legacy grow, and what can we accomplish? And what does that set up for the next group, right? Brock Purdy, it's hard to fill in after Brock Purdy heads out the door, right? And to be in a place where we're already talking about like this kind of leadership, being in that position. What a great example you set for the other young guys in and around the club, right? When I got to Iowa State, we weren't very good. But there were still guys who were just phenomenal leaders in that locker room. About Tim Cohn and Doug Easley in the offensive line, and especially Easley, just a super quiet sort of like, people don't know that name in Iowa State football history. I'm going to tell you that those guys, Pat and Offa, like you showed up and did your work and you did it the right way because they were going to demand that that's how things happened, right? And Troy Davis was the one that got all the recognition, and he should have. But those were the guys who started this thing turning around under Coach Mack. And then, so then you roll that forward, and like Joe Parmentier and that whole team that beat Iowa is Bandauer and Cortez and all those guys, right? Take that to today, where we're winning a Fiesta Bowl, and then you keep building. We win a Fiesta Bowl and we keep building. It's like, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. The fact that it's 9 seasons for Matt Campbell in Ames, like, shocked me when they said it on the broadcast. I'm like, really? 9 years? Holy cow. Like, it feels like he just got here.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and it's he's like 3 or 4 years away from being the longest tenured coach in Iowa State history.
Yeah. And why does it feel like he just got here? Because it feels like the potential is so great. I don't know who's going to play wide receiver next year, but I'll tell you this, I'm not afraid about it. I'm not. Like, they're going to figure it out. And I think we have some young talent on this roster. We saw a little bit of them at the end of the game that can be really good and can step in and like do these things again. I think Taylor Mauser in his second year as an offensive coordinator is going to be so much better than he was in his first year as an offensive coordinator. He was good, So there's a lot of things that John Heacock is going to look at. Okay, this is our system. This is what it does. Here's where it falls short, and what do we need to do, right? Because we may adjust. Like, college football is all about. All of football is all about somebody innovates, people adjust. Somebody innovates, people adjust. We were the ones who innovated. People have adjusted. So now what do we do? Right? How do you innovate? What's Iowa State 3.0, right, on the backside of this? Because I think we know that Iowa State 2.0 was pretty cool under Matt Campbell. And I think 3.0 starts next year. I really do, because you look at this senior class and what they've done and what they've meant to this program. This is the end of a particular type of era, and it's one that had an arc of us having to build from being knocked down a peg or two, and but still having that cultural leadership component that comes from the work that Purdy and Chase and Dylan Sainer and all those guys put into this, right? So
yeah,
I can't wait.
Well said. You're right. I mean, it is a different kind of senior class compared to what was it, 21? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
With all those guys, it's different in the sense of, I think that 21 class had so much prestige to themselves.
Yeah.
But this class is full of guys who, hear me out, fell in love with the process, and the process loved them back.
Yeah.
So you can't help but root for every single one of these guys.
Yeah.
And it's a different feel to the end of this Cyclone era. But it sounds like most of them are going to play in the bowl game, aside from guys were going to be injured. So I think that's a pretty telling sign of where this class was at for Iowa State.
They're here because they wanted to be here. Many of them could have taken more money someplace else. And that's a big deal. That's a huge
really good
deal.
point too.
That never existed before, right? Take all those great classes, take all those great senior groups, take all those great players of the past, and then put them in a situation where all of a sudden they're getting paid. And they could get paid a much higher rate, and maybe they're getting paid below market for things, right? Wow. What Matt Campbell and Hoodger and the coordinators and Bloomy and everybody and all the people who give to We Will and everything else, like the parents, right? These kids' parents are sitting here saying, "Well, what is the right thing for my son to do?" Like, there's money on the table here. Like, this is real money. And should they take it? And they're still going to get a great education. They're still going to have a chance to play. They're still going to get a chance to feature themselves. And they chose to be here, to be part of this. And there's going to be a lot of schools where people just be like, I'm not going to do that bowl game. That's great. I got my Heisman. I'm good. Like, we're see you guys in a bit. We'll see.
Well, I think that's a good place to get out of here.
Appreciate you, man. Yeah.
Thank you for your time as always. This has been Cyclone Sunday here from the Channel Seed Studios. We will see you after Iowa State's bowl game.